This is in no particular order, and it's kind of bad, grainy, but it's 60 years old, some of it older than that. So I guess for being that old, it's not so bad. After you've seen it all, I hope you can follow it and have some kind of storyline. It's some of my life and the beginning of one side of your life. So I hope you just enjoy it. This picture is at the home of Annie and Uncle Jimmy Wright. Annie is the mother of Lizzie Jacobs. She's my maternal grandmother, and Uncle Jimmy is her second husband. Her first husband was James Greenberry Higgins. He was my maternal great-grandfather. He died in a mental hospital. Granny, Lizzie, never knew if it was mental, TB, or something like Alzheimer's. This is the Higgins home place. That's Pat hugging Annie, and that's Kathleen Taggart, and that's Aunt Polly, and that's Uncle John. And Aunt Polly was married to Uncle Grover, but Uncle John never married, and he lived with them the whole time. I often wondered about that situation. That's Granny, and that's Annie. And I believe that is Grandpa Jack, and that's Kathleen and Pat. These are all the Rodens. That's Harvey Julia's second son in the plaid shirt. That's Kenneth, Lizzie's son, and Tobo, another one of Julie's boys, was the black sheep. He died escaping from prison where he was because he murdered somebody. And he had been to the farm that Granny bought from Uncle Cap on the 4th of July. We were all up there, and I remember he gave, and see, this is terrible, but I don't know which child he gave a silver dollar to, but one of my girls he gave a silver dollar to. And then he left there and went to Texarkana to rob a pawn shop and shoot the owner. And they arrested him with Dr. Callahan as an associate. I think that the pawn shop person was I don't know what you call them when they take your goods that you steal and sell them, but I think that's what he was. And Dr. Callahan and Tobo had been stealing things, and he was running, and he was trying to get home to see his mother, and he had a car wreck. They to this day say that they believe that criminals that he was associated with were chasing him, and that's why he had the wreck. And Mother had to go down and identify the body. This is Earl Haney, who was Julia's husband, and he's in the black shirt. They would go down and dig snake root that I don't know, they harvested it, and they'd go down the woods and they'd harvest this snake root and sell it to the chemo companies. Tara looked it up, and she said that it was used for homemade snake bite remedies. But that's what they did. They dug snake root. This is Annie and Nell and Lizzie and Polly and Uncle Jimmy and John and Uncle Bill's girls, Jane and Geraldine. To get to this house from DeQueen, you go on Highway 70 to Oklahoma line. You turn left on State Line Road about 8 miles to Cane Creek. And when you think about Cane Creek, I want you to, in your mind, picture an old metal bridge. And on that metal bridge, you would see two board running down them. And that's where your tires went. And you turn left and go beside the creek. Now, it was not a real road. It was just a wagon trail. And you'd have to take your car down this wagon trail and hope you didn't take the underside of your car out. Anyway, that's how you got to their house. I'm not sure this is where the original home place was or not, but anyway, Grover went downtown to the county clerk's office and paid taxes, and about 1930, the county placed the 40 acres in his name, which was illegal, but anyway. At that bridge, State Line Road becomes Bellarmine Road at Cane Creek. If you follow it, you'll cross Gillum Lake that covers a lot of the homes of the Higgins and Roden land, and you'll reach Highway 71 toward Mena. And I know you don't care anything about that, but someday when you're just doing a Sunday drive, you might just want to take that and say, There's always much food. This is Lizzie and Polly. Sis, Ona, her name was Ona, O-N-A. Mother was Lona, L-O-N-A, and Sis was Ona. This was Polly and Grover's only child, her only child was LaWanda. And LaWanda was raised by Aunt Polly and Uncle Grover, so I felt like we had a lot in common. Arvazine, Albert's wife, Lee Wright, Uncle Jimmy's boy, Jack, and I don't know this man, I'm sorry, I don't know who he is, Earl Haney, Jimmy, and John, and Charlie Van Scoter, who was Aunt Mary's husband, Geraldine, Annie, Billy Dean, and Bill, and this is all the men outside smoking and drinking. They did that a lot. Maud and Harvey, Dale, that was another one of Julia's boys, Julie and Earl, and all the Higgins kids. I needed for you to see these as they come out. You may have to go back and pause it. But that's Uncle Cap. His name was really David, but they called him Uncle Cap. And John, and Albert, and Annie, the mother, Robert, and Mary, and Lizzie, her name was Inez Elizabeth, Bill, and Grover. That's all 8 of them. They had 9 children, but the first child was born in that. As best I remember this story, Papa and Annie had moved away across the river. It died soon after it was born, and they put it on the back of a horse and swam the horse over Rolling Fork River and brought it home to bury it at Kellam. And I don't know whether this is true or not, but it seems like somewhere that's buried in my mind. This is Granny's second husband. His name was Jack Jacobs, and they had 3 children. They had Clayton, Billy Dean, and Patsy Ann. his uncle, James Ivy Roden, was her first husband. So that means that your family tree has some unusual limbs. Each summer it was spent fishing and hunting, and of course cussing and a drinking. Eating with our neighbor Doris Miller. Her husband CB molested me when I was about 12. I never told anyone this until one time the Lord had me talking to a group of women as Beulah, and he just said, you need to tell them about that. And I said, no, I don't believe I want to. I hadn't told Nub, I hadn't told my daughters, I hadn't told anybody. And he said, yes, you've got to tell the story. And so I told the story. And 6 of those women had a coming out moment. And then I finally told Nub about it and told the girls about it. It was one of those life-changing moments for me. And that's Kathy. She was a lonely little girl with only a dog to play with. This building that Grandpa Jack is putting all the fishing stuff in was the wash house. We lived in that little place when our house burned down when I was in the 3rd grade. Now, the town of DeQueen came together with funds and labor and built the house that Mary came down those front steps. It was high off the ground with beautiful cannas in the front. And when I'd get my heart hurt, I'd go hide under that house, and I'd feel sorry for myself. Nobody ever came to look for me, even though I sat under there and I thought, boy, they're going to be sorry when they can't find me and I'm dead under here. I guess I'm still feeling sorry for myself, maybe. They used lumber from the first house that burned, or part of the lumber, and when it rained, you could always smell the burned wood in that house. This is Bo Pete Jacobs, Grandpa Jack's brother. Pearl German, which was Grandpa Jack's aunt, and she was the sister of Jack's mother, Minnie Jacobs. The only other weird thing is that Granny's sister, Julie's, her name was Julia, but everybody called her Julie. Her first husband was Wes Roden, who was the brother of Mom's dad, James Ivy. So all of Julia's and Lizzie's kids were called double cousins. The skinny lady coming out of the is Mary, Bo Pete's wife, and the little boy was their only child, and I can't remember his name, but he was rotten. Uncle Kenneth had several wives, really wives. He had several stepwives too, but Nell was taking the pictures on this. I don't know what this picture was. It was perhaps Kenneth and Nell on their way home, or how it got in there. I just have no idea. Look at me, I'm so skinny. I, anyway. Woodrow, Loney, and a puppy, and Neil. That is a decoration that I made in home ec that year. And this is a redo. We are famous for redos. And that's the deer. Remember, I told you they had to put the fence up on the front? That's Billy Dean in his first PJs. He had got them for Christmas. He'd been in a really bad car accident with a head wound, and he had seizures always after that. And doctors telling him not to drink, and he paid no attention. That's Grandpa Jack being attacked, and Nell and Loney and Lizzie, Mama feeling up Nell. Granny always had a bed in her living room. I never understood that. She always had a bed in the living room. I guess it was just as easy. I have a lot of her in her. I love being on the couch, and she just had her a bed in the living room. Kathleen and Kenneth and Nell and Ed and Billy Dean and Lona and Lizzie and Patsy and then that's Nell and Ed and Pat and Ed and Kathy and Billy Dean and Kenneth and Lonnie and Nell and Ed. And I needed to tell you about two of Granny's children, Clayton and Helen. And Clayton and Uncle Billy would take turns over the weekend. Helen's husband was in the Navy, and so she lived alone with her little boy who was 4. His name was Tommy. And they would take turns staying with her over the weekend so she didn't have to be alone. So it was Uncle Billy's time to go, and he just refused to go. He just said, "I'm not going tonight." And so Clayton went to spend the night with Helen and Tommy. And that night their house burned, and all 3 of them died. And Granny never really got over that. And she, with my medical degree, I decided that Uncle Billy always had a suicide wish. And so from that time on, he was a wild child. And he drank and he smoked, and even after the doctors told him to not drink or smoke anymore, he did. And so he had so many surgeries on his mouth, and finally he was just he was a beautiful young man. And when he died, he was just a scarecrow with a boogered up face, and I hated it so bad. But that's what happened. It's what alcohol will do to you. Now, y'all stop that alcohol business. I mean it. I came home from school one afternoon, and Dolph was in the living room, and Betty Jean Baker was with me, and Mom called me into the kitchen and said, "I need to tell you something. That is your dad." And I was 13 years old. I was in 8th grade. And Nettie and Dolph, his name was Adolphus Woodrow Crook. And they came the next year for my 9th grade graduation and took me on a very long trip to Yellowstone and other points in the West. And there's a whole bunch of pictures here of 1956, which was my first trip with them. That's a bear beside an Old Faithful, and it's a really smelly place. Sulfur, I guess. Excuse me, I don't know. But it's beautiful scenery, and I was a real teenager. I was a toot. I just cannot imagine. The first trip they took me shopping and bought me so many nice clothes. This is me and Edna Crook, which was Dolph's mother, and it was kind of an eye-opening thing for them, because he had just told his entire family that I existed. And so my trip to California that year was for him to introduce me to his family. And did you see Edna's white hair? Maybe that's genetic. Maybe that's where I got mine. But all the clothes they bought me were those nice, they were really, high-class clothes, and I wanted to wear them with their tag hanging out, because I never had anything like that. This is Dolph's sister Bernice, and her husband was named Melvin, and I do not remember their last name, and I do not remember their granddaughter's name. But this is Dolph presenting me to his sister as his daughter. And but Nettie she was so nice to me. She was about 4'11", and she had shoulder bag that she had everything of financial in that purse. And she got me addicted to Pepsi. This trip, I saw Carlsbad Cavern, Petrified Forest, Mesa Verde, Grand Canyon, and so much more that I don't even remember. And when we got to Poway, I never saw a pig pen, but I guess there must have been one. And this is Dolph. And this is Dolph and Carr, his brother. They were masons and had their own construction business, and they built Nub and I a house, and we moved out to Poway. Nettie had 2 daughters who were older than my mom. I don't know that. I guess Dolph was looking for a young thing to woo, and I was the result. He lived in DeQueen until they moved to California to join the service, and Nettie became Rosie the Riveter in an airplane plant. Remember, I was born in October 1941, and Japan bombed Pearl Harbor in December, and after that they moved to California and stayed there. And he worked in an aircraft plant, and later he formed Crook Brothers Construction. Now see, this is why this is snow on the side of the road. The cabin they rented had this lovely brook, and it flowed under the cabin at Yellowstone. So all night long you could hear this brook. I just cringe when I think about what a toot I was on that trip. Nub traded his 1957 Chevy for that 1959 Chevy, which I wrecked on my way to the senior play, Our Town. I was Emily. My teacher gave me my very first Valium because of that car wreck. Now, here we are. Our honeymoon ended in Mary Lee Kitchen's Craig. This is Woodrow's daughter, mother's fourth husband. And she was Woodrow's daughter. And we were in Bossier City, Louisiana. When we got back to the Queen, I was put in the hospital with bad lowers. This is Grandpa Sam with a big, huge snake. This boy, who wasn't really a boy. I mean, he was the same age as we were, but he had Nub as a hero. And this is George Baker holding Bert Young, who was Nub's nephew. This is Dolph and Nettie. You know, Dolph always, every time I see the Cowboys coach, Jason Garrett, I think, Dolph looked just like him. That's Bobby Don Brakeful. Baker City Service, where Nub worked. And this is me and him fishing on a peaceful Sunday, and I'm a real pro. I got a small butt. See, Nub like that butt. That's TMI, so sorry. That's the little boy that hero worshipped Nub. And that's a cricket on the quilt. You can't see it, but that was a cricket. And Jerry Don Killian. He was our best man. This is Kelly Walters, Irma and Jim's first girl. It was her first birthday. This is June 1959. This is before we got married. See, we just had our honeymoon, and now we're back there. I don't know how that happened. Look how sweet he is. We're on our honeymoon. We're getting out of the car. He's helping me. My clothes are all graduation gifts. Our first night we stayed at Holly House in Tyler, Texas. Our first meal was at Guy's Orange Juice Stand in Texarkana. this is a park in Texas. Someone ran off the road honking and putting their hands in the air when they saw the writing on our car. I loved this house. I'm telling you, I loved it. So you see what my taste was like. Hasn't changed much. I still love this house. The motel room in which I went to sleep in the bathroom because he made me mad. Then I decided that he'd leave me in there all night and it wasn't very comfortable, so I came on out. I think this must be on Dolph and Nettie. I don't know how I got the footage of it, but this is Dolph and Nettie coming to see me before we got married. They didn't come to the wedding, but they brought me so many wedding gifts. It was unbelievable. Most of them were turquoise. The first electric skillet I had ever seen was turquoise. A club aluminum set of pots in turquoise, bowls and other stuffs, all in turquoise. It was so very nice. And I still have some of the gifts, and some I've passed to some of my grands. Tara has a tray, and Ty has a pot, and Sarah has something, but I forget what it is. This is Nettie, and I don't know any of these people. Nub, me, and Nettie. He is so pretty, and we are such babies. I cannot believe it. I'm 17, and he's just turned 20. And for us to get married, our parents had to go to the courthouse and sign that we could get married. I made this shirt in home ec, and I was so proud of it. Nettie and her sister, and I don't know what her name was, but her last name, her married name was Craig, and they lived in DeQueen on the other end of Mile Lane, which was called Craig Lane, where it crossed Johnson Bridge Road. Farm, from our farm to their house, that was called Mile Lane. This is Carlson Terrace at the University of Arkansas. It was the first year it opened in 1959, and that was a blimp in the pasture next to us. If you went up the hill from there, you were at the football stadium. These are all the buildings at the University of Arkansas when we were freshmen. I knew it all. I was the smartest thing you ever saw. This is Senior Walk. We didn't make it, but our Rebecca did. She got her name on that walk. We could not wear pants on campus. Can you believe that? If you see me, I've got my coat on. I've got my pants rolled up, my blue jeans rolled up under my coat. Mom and Ruth came up to see us. And this is Lonnie and me acting a fool. Y101. And now Carlson Terrace has been torn down, which is probably a really good thing. We're saying goodbye in Fayetteville. I'm sorry for all the skips that we do. And this is the trout farm in Fayetteville. It's a trout farm. Now, I love this trout farm. It was stinky to me, and it made me sick to watch all the motion of the trout, but we went often because he loved that trout farm. This is Janet and Curtis Cox. It's not Janet, it's Jeanette. It's spelled Janet, but her name was Jeanette. And Curtis Cox, he played football in DeQueen, and I was cheerleader with her. He was the first monster on the University of Arkansas football team, and he brought the team to move us in to Y101. It was really cool to have all those boys unloading us, and there's my jeans rolled up under my coat. And another decoration that I made, I'm a real student, look at me. And this is us decorating our first Christmas tree. It was all so pretty. And we had a bird we called Petey Bird, and he said, I taught him to say Nubs Rat, Nubs Rat. It was cool. It was cool. This is a dress I made in home ec class at the University of Arkansas. And me mopping the floor. And Ronnie and Jeannie Blakeney, they were from Nashville. He was another one of those football players that moved us in. My pretty nub. All of our furniture we bought at Haverty's in Little Rock for $499. And when they came to the Queen to deliver it, no one knew Charles Young. And it was just lucky that they asked his Uncle Howard, who knew what Nub's name was. Lots of people knew him, but nobody knew his name was Charles. But anyway, try to buy a whole house full of furniture for $499. You see, that was on my list. I said, we are not going to start married life with a furniture payment or with a ring payment. So my rings had to be paid for, and the furniture had to be paid for. See those plates? I think maybe Tara has those plates in her kitchen. And now, suddenly, we're in California, and these are the Mosier children, friends of ours who had a little boy that really looked like your dad. And this is me, Prego. I am cute, I am. This is the world-renowned San Diego Zoo. And we took Lonnie to the zoo, and she came to be with me when my baby was born. I guess this is Nub's nose as he changes the film. I just really don't know. But it's a beautiful nose nevertheless. and a picture of my butt by the elephant cage. That's a beautiful peacock. This is Cox, and this is Jerry and Joy Lineberger from Texarkana and their son Jay, another football player. This is our first dog, Spook. He was a Schipperke. Billy Dean and us driving to California to our brand new home that Dolph built for us. me and Kathy. And that's Nub's scooter. I drove that up the side of the house and through our roll-out windows. And then, as I often do when I get hurt, I just run. And that's what I did. And so they had some difficulty chasing me down to make sure I wasn't hurt. And I wasn't. And this is Poway, California.
This is Preggy Me and the Mosier kids at Mary's mom's house. Laura was born and I'm visiting Miss Parker, Mary's mom, and her brother Pete. It's not bad for just weeks from giving birth. Nub's dive is dreadful. There she is. Looks like her grands do now. I look at them and I think, looks just like Laura did. Her baby carrier was a very new thing on the market, and we got one of the very first ones made. Well, Dolphin Nettie got it for us. This is Laura's first Christmas in her walker. She was allergic to eggs and her bottom looked scalded. It looked like I had set her on a on a burner on the stove and had just scalded her butts. Look at her. Her grandkids sure do look like her. We're at Dolph and Nettie's house. Now, she loved that dog. Ugh, it was a naked, long-necked dog. It was ugly, and she loved it. This is Kathy and her bike. We drove up to have Christmas with Pat and Ed, and she was holding her bottle. We were so proud that she would take a bottle. I had to breastfeed her to that point, and we didn't know whether she would or not, but she did. And that's Bruno and Tootsie, Nub's dogs. Nub's always had dogs. Then we moved back to Arkansas. Grandpa Clifton and Grandma Ruth divorced after 30 years, and we moved back to help with the farm. And that's me giving her Pepsi. I thought she needed Pepsi when she was very, very young. Rocking her baby. Look, she's always been so maternal. She was such a happy baby. She was always happy until we brought Sheila home, and then she decided she had an imaginary friend, and his name was Gus. This is a picnic at Mama and Woodrow's house, and Lizzie and Kathy and Pat. And that's Nub with his ice cream beater. That was his specialty. How cool is this? Our second Christmas in our new house. And Bert came up and she wore out Lizzie. We called her Nell because Nell, Kenneth's wife, carried mattresses all by herself. This is in the farmhouse before we moved into our new home. Curls on that head. See, I used to could roll my hair. And that's Bert and Clifton. And this is Jim Walters. That's Irma's husband and dad of her 4 girls. And that's Tootsie and Bruno. And we had to hire a U-Haul to bring them to Arkansas. Now, we didn't take Spook to California with us, and we left him on the farm with Clifton, and he became Clifton's dog, and he got one of his legs cut off by the tractor. Used to, when you'd take pictures, you had to have a light bar on, and so anytime you see us taking pictures of Laura, she did not like them, and because there were bright lights. and that's Clifton and Laura. And Laura Cutie and Sybil, Clifton's wife, second wife, on our way to Texarkana to see Sheila in the hospital. Sheila had had an accident while I was in California at Nettie's funeral. And so she fell off of her pony and had a bad elbow dislocation. She nearly lost her arm, and she still has no carrying angle, and you can see the scars from the gigantic swelling. Laura's outside. They wouldn't let her up to Sheila's room. All the things on the wall were from Jack and Jill classmates. And there's the culprit, I think. And that's home from the hospital after a couple of weeks. And that's Gerald and Tricia Burrell and Kay and David Ramsey. And I used to have a party just because it was Tuesday. But this party was for Kay and Nub because they had the same birthday. We're on the farm with Laura and Sheila behind the chicken houses. Bruno and I can't tell who the other one is. Nev's swinging them and he got knocked in the chin. Laura had to help. This is Laura's piano recital and Jack and Jill graduation. Raindrops keep falling on my head. I don't remember this one. That's Carol Davis. And that's Mark Burrell, Tricia, Laura, Sheila, and Kathy eating chocolate. Well, Sheila loved that picture. And me and my up, up, up hairdo. Gerald and Kathy hiding, neither one of them liked their pictures made. This is at Six Flags when all the black children kept petting Sheila's hair, and Kathy was with us. I even tried the tree slide. I hate it that Nub takes the pictures so we don't see him much. And this is Sheila learning to ride a bike. This is Kiki in a tree with her sisters. Mom getting Kiki out of the tree. And Lizzie with the fishing pole that we got her for her birthday, and we got her that new pantsuit also for her birthday. Sheila and Luke Curley. He was a retired cowboy rodeo friend. And this is Kiki eating ice cream. They all looked alike, didn't they? Perseverance. I'll get this lid on this bottle. That's Grandpa Clifton at her first birthday party. That's Loney and Lizzie and Marie. That's one of Kenneth's stepwives. And Kenneth and Johnny, Marie's grandson. And this is Nub with his beard for the centennial. This is Naked Kiki learning the potty chair. She will love that. Laura and Kiki decorating the tree. Oh my, look at Mr. Arnub's pants. Oh my. Sheila's now helping with the tree. And off we went to Disney World, and we left Kiki at home. And how hard that was for me. And Laura and Sheila did not make it easier. They would say things, oh, this is what Kiki would say. Or they would call her Kristen, because that's what we called her then. Nub, Laura, and Sheila at a national park. And this is the first time they were on the beach, on sand, and the ocean. Now, it's not the ocean, it's the Gulf, but anyway. Sheila didn't like it so much, and Mama didn't get near the water. We stayed in the park, and the monorail came by our room. It was so cool. It had only been open, this was the second year. Nub loved scenery with nobody we knew in it, and this was our Disney guide, but I don't remember her name. Sheila was not sure about Goofy. My question is, how did I keep that hair so high? The higher the hair, the closer to God, I guess. Oh no, they ride the teacups, and it made me sick, but finally I got to take pictures. This is the space station. Laura and Sheila at the lunar module. Christmas, and Sheila seems to be happy. Kiki, not so much. That's Lonnie and Lizzie. Laura and Sheila dressed up, so it must have been Christmas Eve. We'd probably been to church and came back. I don't know why else they'd be so dressed up at the Christmas tree. I got a facial sauna. And Kiki got a tea set. And playing cards. how many dolls does a girl need? Laura taking care of her Kenneth is there taking care of his honey girl. He was just crazy about Kiki. I mean, you know, I had to change her clothes 3 or 4 times a day because she had so many and that was his job. He would come in the morning, he was working for us, then he would come in the morning, he'd wake her up and he would put her in a frilly dress, and then when he'd come in for lunch, he'd want her in another frilly dress. Only baby he is ever around, I guess. That's Kiki shaking hands with the princesses and the bears, and we took her back with us to Disney World. That's probably 1975. I don't really know. And the parade at night was so awesome, and Kiki watched it without even balking. You can see Sheila bull her way through with Laura trying to watch her and take care of her and Kiki getting to shake hands with someone. I can't tell who it was. And that's it. I wish I had more. I wish I could share more of our life with you all. It has been an extraordinary life, and I've thoroughly enjoyed doing this for you, and I know it's a mess, but anyway, at least you know all of your ancestors looking at them, all those 8 kids that came from Annie and James Greenberry Higgins. I hope you enjoyed this, because I enjoyed doing it for you.